Hey, how is this? Well, I didn't actually start the meeting. So you guys couldn't, this is nothing showing up. There was no meeting for you guys to join before this? I thought you'd all already be here, you know? I thought it's like 6:02 p.m. now. The folks would be meeting and I'll just barge in. But I was the first to get to this meeting. Well, why is that? Was that because I'm pretty sure I checked join before host? It's not the case? Oh, I see. Douglas saying so. All right, never mind. Now that we're all here, great. Everybody should switch on the cameras, okay? Considering that the chances that you all get to meet each other is actually quite rare in an online course, okay? In the Zoom classes that I used to teach before, we used to make it mandatory unless you had exceptional reasons. Everybody should have their camera on. But here it's online, and you could basically spend the entire quarter and not knowing, who your classmates are, perhaps even your neighbor, and you don't know that you're doing the same class. You could have actually knocked on his or her door and said, "Hey, can you, let's figure out the bug," but you didn't know because. So everybody should switch your cameras on, please. Okay, and then well, I'm only joining this meeting, and maybe I'll join, one final meeting towards the end, or maybe in the middle too, if you guys want something. I'm happy to do that. Well, let's start as soon as everybody switches on their cameras. Okay, there's still a couple of people on the bottom row: Jonathan, Tris, Swati, John, Thin Nandar. Is that how you pronounce your name, or just Thin? Okay, Alvaro, and then Deepak. Okay, all right. Okay, and Deepak says his camera is not working. Okay, that's fine. Okay, all right. If your camera's not working, but at least all right, we're going to assume that all of you are here. Okay, I'm going to assume. What time is it now? 6:05. Okay. Yeah. Well, it was announced and everything, so we'll assume that this is all the people that are going to show up for a typical virtual catch up. Happens. This one I'm going to attend myself, but I'm hoping that at least this bunch will show up every week. I'll show up on the occasional one from time to time. But I'm hoping that all of you will get, well, actually, that's not quite true. Half of you anyway, because half of you are doing 2B and the other half are doing 2A. Today is a joint meeting, okay? And yeah, well, I see all these, familiar faces and then new faces. Enzo, and hey, Noah, if you were in a previous class before, not the last quarter, right? Because you were my student in a past quarter.
I don't think so. This is my
No?
first
Okay.
class
All right.
attending.
Okay. The name seemed familiar. Okay. Keon, Rachel, Douglas, new students. Okay. Byron, I recognize. Yeah. David Bryan. Great. Yeah. Welcome back. Tigran. Hey, a Zoom user. It's a Zoom user. Okay. Can you fix your name too? Yeah. And then Michael, some of you guys, I already recognize you from your posts. Because I read the posts, and there's some pretty interesting discussions going on here and there. So it's really cool for me to see that. So I recognize, like Michael and Tigran and where is, Douglas and Byron. Well, you got a bit of time. Byron is actually working. Some of you are in CS2B, right? So you have to work through the quests. If you have any questions, my purpose today is basically just to answer any questions you may have, meta class related, okay? Content related, here's what I would prefer. You're going to get together every week like this. What time is it? I made them Thursday, but I'm happy to make them Monday if you guys want. Okay, just make a poll or something like that and let me know. So you guys get together at this meeting and talk about technical details to do with your quests, except not actual quest code. Okay, you can say, hey, in this quest, in this particular place, I need to remove a few elements from the middle of a vector or an array. How do I do it? Okay, I tried this and it's not passing the quest. Okay, and then someone else who has done the quest, because after this week it's separate. 2A and 2B will be two different streams. You'll not be meeting together. So today the 2A students can actually ask for tips from after I leave. Okay, I'll leave in about 10 or 15 minutes. It is recording, isn't it? Let me make sure. How do I make sure it's recording? Oh yeah, it is saying it is recording. Yeah, okay. Right. So all these things every week they'll get recorded and they'll be in Zoom, right? There's a tab in Zoom, and then you go there, you can see the recordings. But I highly encourage you not to uh, resort to viewing the recording, saying, "Hey, you know what? It's going to be recorded. I'll watch it later, right? On my bed or on my phone." No, so I don't think that's a winning attitude for, especially for CS2B. Okay, you got to say, "I'll go to the meeting and do it, firsthand. And if I happen to miss it, then yeah, okay, I'll grudgingly watch the recording." So if that's the attitude, that'd be really, really cool. Because these meetings, as you may know from some of the CS2A guys, okay, who are now in 2B, you can talk to them, Byron, Tris, and Enzo, all of these guys. You'll see that the greatest value they got from CS2A was not from the modules, not from my lectures, not from all these mini projects either. Well, mini projects maybe help because they're kind of cool and interesting during our classes, but mainly from the forum interactions. Because all of these guys, you just go and click on their name, you can see all the posts they've made. Okay, and then I just made a list of some of these posts for some of the people who completed the last red quest. Okay, yeah, that was the last 2C section I taught last quarter, and the people who finished the red quest. I compiled a list of the posts they made since they were in 2A at the beginning, converting their hexadecimal names and so on and so forth. So I posted there. So you can go and take a look, which will be a fantastic example of the trajectory that you will yourself follow, whether you do my own 2B and 2C or not, because I mean, this quarter is the last, right? You're welcome to Quest, obviously, right? I think I mentioned this before to the other 2A guys, previous 2A guys. It's not a big deal for me to keep the questing system going, but I don't want to keep it going just because. So if people are using it, no problems for me. Okay, I'll just keep it going. So which means that even if you're not getting credit for it at Foothill or Dianza or any of these colleges, highly recommend. Okay, highly recommend. If you're starting on the Blue Quest this week, do all the way to red 9. Okay, the red dog, become a red dog, because you will feel fundamentally different about your programming abilities no matter where you are right now. Okay, maybe you've got really, really experience already, that's okay, and you're here for the C++ syntax, that's fine. But I'm telling the majority of you guys, okay, you young guys, students, and maybe first exposure to programming itself. Okay, then I totally encourage you, instead of getting lost in a forest of HackerRank or LeetCode and stuff like that, lots and lots of uncategorized challenging problems. Okay, they give you little sugar highs by solving, bam bam bam, yeah, I'm really cool, I'm like done 15 of these hard problems, and right, but they're not calibrated, they're not like set in a particular trajectory. You don't learn new concepts by going from one to the other. You need someone who's already done this, like someone who at home or close by, who knows the programming computational mindset, right, the landscape, to say, all right, this is all these things out there, but this is what you should do next. That is the problem. Okay, lots of really intellectually fierce energetic people at in my CS2A classes. I find that their energy is being frittered away by just solving repetitive the same kinds of problems, because the feedback is missing, saying it's the same thing you did before. You not don't feel as good as you're currently tried. Well, not like that, but if you do new things, you actually feel really cool about it. So that is one of the ways. That is one of the reasons why, for getting a structured curriculum, following a structured curriculum is actually dipping into decades of experience and knowledge in picking the right topics for students to go in an optimal way, to get a fantastic view of the computational landscape, so that you can chart your own course with confidence. And so whether it's here, even if the professor is not good, or the course is not, it's not taught in a good way, you can, the very least you get is the trajectory that's been followed by all of the students in the past in that particular section. So that is actually the result most of the time, unless you have a radical professor who's changed everything. I haven't, by the way. Okay, the sequence of topics we follow, I think, in my personal opinion, after a long time, after about 4 or 5 years of teaching, I realized CS2A to CS2C, the topic selections are very wise. Okay, and I couldn't have done better. Maybe I swapped out a couple of topics in the assignments and also the sequence, just to make it refreshing. But that is, so please do stick through all the way, blue, green, even though, I'll be there on the Reddit, I'll look at the Reddit and help, but most of the time you guys will be helping yourself. And I'm just going to play the role after today of a just a passive observer, who not a, let's say an active, well, I don't want to be active in the sense of, drowning out your own conversation and voice. I'm going to be on the Reddit. Okay. And I want to answer any of your questions, especially if it's a question saying I'm stuck here with a bug or something like that. But I will be on the watch out for exceptional situations when there is actually a bug in the system. It's very rare, but if you do find one, you get extra credit, obviously. Yeah. And there have been people, like one a quarter or something like that. No, actually, maybe one every couple of quarters, maybe, who do get these extra credit trophies, and that is still available this quarter too. But don't go looking for them because it's a waste of time. Yeah, rather you should try to ace all of the minis, and you're absolutely certain that you have a mini that shouldn't pass but pass, then you get extra credit. Okay, so that's the way things have been set up. It's actually a really fun experience, except for the first 5 quests, okay, which are a bit of a hack, really, in my opinion, because although in the first 5 quests are not the first one I actually made. I worked on I think the green quests first, and then the red, and then came back and did the 1A and the Java, and the blue and yellow. But still, the first 5 are hacky because they require user input, and I did but after that, after the 6th quest onwards, things will streamline. Okay, so if you manage to get there, you'll see that you'll get into the rhythm of doing some code, testing some logic in your head, and submitting to the system, and looking at the output, and then deciphering the output. Okay, so here, yeah, a tip that I would like to make is that in the past, well, there was a name for it. I came up with a clever name. What is it called? Blind submissions, or repeat rapid fire blind submissions, or something like that. Okay, questing. So sometimes students get I thought they were spoiled into not using the debugger and saying, well, I make some change and let the questing system figure it out and look at this response, and then I'll try and right. So it just becomes a series of rapid fire submissions without any thought going into what the change was, just trying different numbers and random changes. So yeah, there is no penalty for that. Okay, except I think that it will be a penalty for your own progress. It's not going to help you at all. Just or if it works by chance in one of your submissions and saying, oh, I got passed, right, let me move on to the next one, totally not going to help you. Okay, you're stuck at something like twice as hard later on. So it's better to not try repeated random changes, and also always think through all of the bugs. And if you then if you don't manage to fix something, here's my recommendation. Don't immediately throw up your hands and ask on the Reddit saying, well, here's where I'm stuck. Okay, give it at least an hour of your time. Okay, not like 10 minutes, it doesn't work, and I ask on the Reddit and disappear. Okay, play a game of Fortnite and come back or something like that. Total nonsense. So what we have to do is essentially say, well, for the next hour, I'm basically just going to be questioning or doing this, and then if you get stuck, that's it. That's where you're going to be for the next 45 minutes or whatever it is. It won't be 45, obviously, right? Maybe it'll be 10 and then followed by a break, or and then but it happens. Okay, but I would like for all of you to experience that. Okay, because I think at a younger age, programmers actually haven't had that experience. I found that. Okay, but I thought it was what that experience is, that working on something, it doesn't work. Okay, and taking a break and then coming back to it and the same problem. Okay, it actually does, you see what the problem is. All of your effort, the 15 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever it is you've spent before, they were all in the wrong direction. You can see it's plain right now. And so this is an observation that lots and lots of questers have made. Okay, so, and I'm just going to pass it on to you guys because this is the last meeting I'm actually formally attending with you guys. So if you do have a problem, give it some 10 or 15 minutes of your time, take a break. Don't post on the Reddit yet, take a break. Okay, and then come back another 5 minutes on it. Okay, if it's still puzzling or you don't figure it out, then post on the Reddit. but chances are you would have fixed it. Then also post on the Reddit saying, hey, you know what, I had this problem and I fixed it. That counts for participation points. Okay, again, when it comes to participation points and the things you make on Reddit, the posts you make on Reddit, so a couple of points that were made in the syllabus, let me repeat, is that the high school kinds of posts, like, here is a summary of this topic, right? Like if you go to ChatGPT or some AI system and say, yeah, tell me about stacks, okay, in C++, and it tells you something and you copy and paste it like that, even if it's in your own words, it doesn't really matter, okay? Because we know that factual information like this is easy to come by today. So what really gets points in your forum participation is how well you read into questions asked by other students, okay? So that you actually imagine the situation, and so basically insightful questions you ask, insightful answers you give, okay? And also sometimes insightful things you noticed in your code. Say, hey, I was doing this and I just realized this thing, it's very similar to something that happened somewhere else in some other program I was using, right? Some app, all these other cool things, as long as they relate to these things, those are the kinds of things that will get points. You can also, one of the things you can think of is that you can read your post or give it to your brother, sister, cousin, whoever it is, and ask them saying, well, you know what, if you're a random person not interested in computer science, after reading it, is your interest, warmer or colder, or, better or worse? So the idea is that no matter where they are in their computer science pursuit, your post should be something that appeals to them and say, hey, this is really cool, I should also be doing this. Okay, so see if that kind of thing can be added to all of your Reddit posts. Everybody who reads it saying should say, well, you know what, it doesn't matter even if computer science does not pay anymore, which is very likely, isn't it? By the time you finish this class, nobody's going to employ a computer science, it's actually a software programmer, right? For most of the things anyway, right? So this is, what you're learning today is basically for personal enrichment. Okay, saying, well, I want to look at this whole world with a different kind of lens. So far, I've been looking at it mostly with a mathematical lens of instant solutions and everything, right? So things just falling into place. But there is another way of looking at everything, which is a computational way. And say there are problems that cannot be solved analytically, but you can solve in the limit or get arbitrarily close to the ideal solution if you followed a particular, recipe or formula repeatedly, okay, iteratively. So that kind, well, if someone explains a problem to you and a solution like that, it all makes sense and say, hey, yeah, okay, that's fine. But I think what I've found in, many, junior programmers that I've worked with and all these people is that I think the natural, the mind falling into that groove, essentially, basically anything you come across, that just becomes another tool. Rather than saying, is this the only way I can solve it? No, I can solve it, this way or a computational way, and it'll just come readily to you. That comes with more experience for programmers, I think. I may be wrong here, but maybe you'll be the one to prove me wrong. But the more you program, the more time you spend doing these things, the more this will actually become a natural tool for you, like the samurai sword. When the samurai or an expert swordsman hold the sword, it just becomes a part of their body. Like they could feel, well, that is obviously exaggerated, but it is like they could feel the entire blade up to the very tip to exactly know where it is in the air or something like that. in the movies anyway, okay, in the fictional world. So like that though, like that, I think it is totally possible. But it is practice. It is just practice, and you have to, at this point, take a leap of faith, a blind faith here, okay? But the least amount of blind faith I'm asking from some of you is that you got to believe that that is possible, even though right now it says, you may feel that, what, I don't know, maybe I'm not going to get to that level. I'm just going to give it, enough to get my, certificate or, some nonsense like that, okay? And go through. That is not, basically that is not putting yourself into it, okay? Because you actually have the ability. I think every student, okay, every student I've worked with, if they just pushed into it enough, they just get bitten by it, and they start getting creative, and incredible things start coming from them. So you just have to give it enough time. Mainly meaning that you got to be patient. Okay, you got to be patient. I think that is the thing that is very hard for today's youngsters, is that because of everything being immediate, I think the skill is now more distant of, just being patient, saying, well, I got to do it and just bear with it because it is going to happen in some, in a few days, although right now it seems impossible, right? And you got to believe. So that's the irrational thing that I'm asking for, is that even though it seems on all possible counts it is totally worthless or it's not going to work out, you just say, all right, I'm going to do it because my prof said I got to do it. Okay. And then you'll see the difference. And you can actually see the evidence for this in all of the posts that people have made and the reflections. Okay. And see how they compared themselves to the beginning of CS2A, to the end of CS2A, which lots of people thought, oh my gosh, this is so, you read the reflections, it is cool. Because at the end of 2A, people say in the reflections, incredible. I didn't know that I learned so much in 1 quarter. But at the end of 2B, they think that incredible. I didn't know I learned so much, because at the end of 2A, I thought I was already solid in CS or computer science or C++. But at the end of 2B, you feel that is something that I was probably born with. That's because it gets buried deeper and deeper, that knowledge. So it feels like it's more innate. The more you do it, at the end of 2C, you genuinely feel, right? Like if you're a red dog, you will genuinely feel like a professional programmer who's actually able to, undertake anything, right? Even if you don't know the solution, you won't be intimidated by it, right? Which is one of the things that lots of beginning programmers that you hire, right? If you give them a big project, the first thing you see is just panic, because if it's that they've not seen something that size, and the very fact that they can even grok something like that and say, well, what, is it possible that I can make an impact in that giant celestial body, something like that, a big project, because new programmers don't know it, and they don't have experience most of the time, right? But the more you work on it, the more all of this will feel natural, I think. And it's a great deal of fun too. It's a great deal of fun, which is the only reason that all of you should be pursuing computer science at this point, okay? It is one of the cheapest ways in which you can appreciate the beauty of the world. Because everything else requires resources. You got to pay. Even skiing, you got to pay. You got to go pay the chairlift and everything. Any of these hobbies, even paint, you got to buy paint. If you want to get into astrophysics, you got to work in a rocket lab and burn fuel and shit like that, right? But mathematics, computer science, and all of these things, they enable you to appreciate the incredible things in here without having to move a muscle. Yeah, so I think this is going to be the cheapest way to appreciate the whole world and the universe going forward. Now that machines and AI could do a lot of things, the routine things that we were doing in the past. So this is a fantastic time to be learning computer science, essentially. Okay, I think so. I'm very happy to see all of you guys. By the way, Ethan, Alex, Jamie, Christian, and Swadhyay, I think we saw your face, right? Because you didn't have your camera on before, but everybody should switch on your cameras, okay? Because everybody has their cameras on, so you can. So it is actually good manners also in many ways to have your camera on, right? Because you're in a room where you can see others, but others can't see you, and that's like going there with a mask or something like that, right? Well, although it's, medically it's recommended and things like that, but that you expect equal treatment from everyone. All right. Okay. At least in this class. Okay. And also, speaking of that, I mentioned this in a class also before. I am not a personal proponent or I don't go into these DEI kind of things if it means that it will impact students' level of knowledge. Okay, so everybody gets graded to the same bar. Okay, no matter if you have life challenges, if you have challenges that are faced by a particular demographic in society, okay, whatever it is, Foothill offers all of the help. Okay, you can even talk to me. I'll try and make sure how these things can be, addressed so that your learning experience is not compromised. But what I will absolutely not do is give you a lower bar to pass, or say just because you're substandard but then you are of some disadvantaged population, I can give you an A because right, because if you buy a product, a quality product, you expect to pay a lot for it. But you shouldn't expect that just because something is low in price, it's low in quality too, which is usually the case, right? People come to community colleges and say, I'll get an A+ easily in computer science, rather than go to a rigorous place where they test you on every little thing, but it costs a lot of money. Right? If you go to, I'm pretty sure if you go to Stanford or Harvard, I think it's like, the fees is like $20,000 a quarter or something like that. And, but you get rigor for that. But it doesn't mean that you don't get rigor elsewhere, right? But people do tend to slide by. So you should treat this class like that, okay? This is going to be totally rigorous. You only get points for demonstrating knowledge. Lots of people send me emails saying I had these challenges and so on and so forth, okay? Those emails are fine with me. You can send me email and ask me questions saying, can you help me because I have this challenge? Totally fine, okay? I'll help you. I'll try and put you in touch with all the right people on campus and stuff like that. But you can't say, maybe I'll give you extensions on, freeze dates, right? For the assignments too, that's fine because life challenges get in the way. But you'll generally know, right? When you're asking for, slack and for life challenges. Everybody has challenges, by the way, okay? Especially kids, they seem to think when they come across some big challenge in life, they think, oh my gosh, this is the end of my life because nobody else has faced this challenge, okay? But as you get older, you see that everybody faces the same kind of challenges in the life, right? Well, some of them are acute anyway, but yeah, everybody alive has actually, seen all of these things, either in their own lives or in people around them. And everybody's intelligent enough to see, oh my gosh, I could have had been exactly the same thing too, right? So everybody has either vicarious, after a certain age, they know all of these here huge challenges that are intimidating to youngsters. So, so one of the good things you could do is just listen to your mom and dad, or wise elders in your family, and say, all right, okay, I'll give you the benefit of doubt of experience, telling me this is the right thing to do. You'll actually be much grateful for this. In the end, just give yourself to all of these classes. Don't overload yourself. And this is the other piece of advice I never, feel it gets old in this class is don't overload yourself with lots and lots. What is this? A spring quarter? Yeah, it's a regular quarter. This is a spring quarter. Okay. Don't do more than 12 units, really. Well, yeah, I don't know. Most people do 16 units or 15, something like that. 15 maybe is a limit. But really, your goal should not be to complete as many units as possible in the shortest amount of time. What is the use, right? Your goal should be to do as few units in as long as possible, so that you get a chance to really sink your teeth deep into one topic, okay? Being an expert in one is a much better deal, personally, than being the jack of all trades in lots and lots of things. So don't do so many. If you're doing, really hard calculus classes or something else along with computer science, just say, I'm only going to do 2, right? And then I'll do some relaxing classes in ceramics or acting. And there's in music too, I guess, in other places on campus. There's so many places offer you relaxing classes if you're not going to be majoring in those yeah, so you should absolutely take advantage of those in picking up the units. But I highly recommend ceramics for the reason that, well, I don't know, maybe just personal, because I did Andy's class a long time ago when I joined Foothill. I was teaching, and I also did Andy's class. Well, there's other faculty too, but I did Andy's class, throwing on the wheel. And the reason I think it is very conducive to programming students, okay, programming, maybe even science and other places, mathematicians maybe, okay, is that when you're sitting on the wheel, like 20 minutes just trying to center it, a lot of it is just muscle movement, and your mind can just be free to wander. So if you've been thinking about an algorithm or some block, you can't work on a computer right now. You might do and you're going to be thinking on it. When you're doing this, you get the idea. You solve a bug. You solve many important bugs, okay? Or maybe you develop a new insight of perspective of your problem space. All of those are really hard to come by. If you are, other than programming, okay, I've done my 2 hours of programming. Now I've got, I got to watch my, catch up on my series on Netflix and then Prime and then Fortnite and then go out with my girlfriend or boyfriend. That's the end of the day. And you come back the next day, you're going to be, it doesn't work like that. So you got to do this, and then you got to also think back and say, and that is the purpose we have reflections, okay? So everybody gets points on, I don't know if I made them. Well, it says participation, but reflections do count for points. And if you don't get any participation points, you get 1 or 2 points for attending virtual catch-ups. I will watch all of the virtual catch-ups. You guys are going to be meeting. Okay, Nabil, you should switch on your camera. Okay, all of you should attend this meeting and have conversations. And then you're going to be recorded. I'll watch them, and I'll, I see your names, and I'll remember these too. And this will factor into the points. But you get 1 or 2 points extra for attending these meetings and being active here in the meetings. And if you speak, you'll come on camera, even if you're not being shown on the camera because of Zoom's algorithms. I'll try and set it so that everybody's visible. By the way, it'll be half of you will be 2A and half of you will be 2B, right? Same thing for all of you guys. So say something and you get 1 or 2 points for attending. That's all. The bulk of it will come from participation, meaningful, nice posts, helping other people and coming up with insights. Those are the kinds of things that carry a lot of points. Sometimes you get freebie points in participation too. That's, especially early in the quarter, because everybody's promising right now. You're not, slacking off, obviously. So once people start slacking off, they'll get less slack too. And fewer participation points here and there. Okay, so do the best you can, have the best time possible. Okay, I hope this is not the last time I'm going to see you guys. Well, I'll absolutely try and make it to at least another meeting at the end of the quarter, or maybe a meeting or two in the middle. And also, if some of you guys find a topic particularly challenging, okay, and you want to work through an example with me, walking you through the code, or watching you do the code and helping you out here and there, just like a regular class we did in CS2A, in the face-to-face section. 5 of you, maybe, to make it worth everybody's time, if you have 5 such people, get back to me and say, we'd like to do a Zoom class. Okay, 5 of you, and I will be happy to schedule a Zoom session with the 5 of you, and 1 of you can live code, and I'll walk you through the code. We'll pick a project and do these things. Okay, the only thing you have to remember is no discussing Quest code directly, even any code, but it's okay to discuss your test code and things. Not Quest code, but experimental code that you've done. That's all fine, I think. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's basically all I had to say. It's like a half hour already. I will actually answer any questions you guys have. And by the way, there's 2 sections here. You can also ask questions to 2B students after I'm gone. Okay, so you can say that for now. Yeah, does anybody have any questions for me? Hey, David, yeah, welcome. Yeah, you were in my class before, I remember, long time ago. Yeah.
No, this is my first time.
Wow, David Lee. Well, maybe, all right, okay. I'm pretty sure. If you Google, if you go to our Reddit and search for David Lee, you'll actually find another person with the exact same name from the past. I think they did all 3, 2A, 2B, 2C. You'll see them. Rachel, you got a question?
Yes, I had a question about participation.
Yeah.
In the syllabus, it says to get full participation points, you pretty much have to post something on Reddit every day.
No, well, that really is, I don't know. I've been trying over, if you look at various iterations, I've been trying different things there to make people jazzed up and post more regularly. Okay, otherwise the people just disappear. It's okay if you post once a week, even if your posts are meaningful. And the thing that I want to discourage is the post degenerating into routine posts, like summary of this topic, or I don't know how to do this, can someone explain? With that, there should be, even if you ask a question, if you look at some of the past posts, not right now, obviously, you'll see that even the questions are asked with a view to draw the reader of the post in, also to give some useful information. Even though it's a question, it gives some useful information. Maybe these are things I've tried and it didn't work. All of these things, so they're all useful, can contribute to points. And also thanking the person, someone who, because I do see some posts where someone asks a question, someone answers, and I'm pretty sure that was the answer, because I could see what the problem was, but there's no follow-up. Okay, so those are not nice. If someone helps and it actually solves your problem, you should thank them and say, hey, I did that, it actually worked, and this was the issue, and that's how I fixed it. Those are all nice things. Okay, and by the way, this is not just for points. You come back to this after you do the red quests and read your own posts from 3 quarters ago. It's not just you'll find them enlightening and also pleasurable to read. Okay, rather than saying, well, you know what, I wish I'd done that before, or maybe I wasn't, I hope I was nicer to that person who gave me a solution, right? But they're gone now, right? So you shouldn't feel that. Just be nice all the time on the forum. It will be fantastic. It'll be great. Okay, this is the last quarter. I'm actually going to be, formally involved with the class and the forum and stuff like that. So I will be there. It is fun for me. It is fun for me. And also I've scaled down all of my administrative responsibilities, departmental stuff and all of that stuff. So I have all the time for you guys. Okay, and I'm actually very eager to see your progress. Okay, even though I won't be teaching, the guys who are doing 2B, I'll probably watch them do red quest if they have time next quarter. But even though you guys in 2A, I'm not teaching you 2B and 2C, I will keep a lookout if you guys complete some of these quests and or even make some interesting posts. Okay, so this is just the start of your journey. And you'll find that every step of the way is actually very fulfilling. Okay, not just between quests, but even between sections. It is absolutely fantastic. So that's what I've heard from all of the students before. But and that's what I also feel. When yeah. Obviously I should feel, right? Because I wrote all the reference solutions also for all of the but I didn't do them in the right sequence. Yeah, if I'd done it in the same sequence as you guys, like blue and then green and red, yeah, I think that will also mirror some of the satisfaction that you will feel. But right now I do see that in the posts, in the Reddit reflections, is the guys who are actually doing it in sequence. Also, guys, the people who the most valuable and the really fun things for professors, teachers to read the reflections are the ones that come from people who didn't know any computer science, any programming. Okay, and they did all three. Right, then you can see the progress of that person all the way through. But it's also fun sometimes to see people who already know programming go through these things. They just start at a different level, and that's also really cool. You'll see more fun things from them, but the progress, that thing that is really, really cool to watch for any professor, I think. Okay, not just for me, and it's going to be cool for you too, because at some point in your life you'll come back. Okay, or some AI will mine Reddit. Okay, and you can talk to the system, to the AI system, and say, hey, look at the Reddit, my Reddit contributions. What can you tell me about, when I started the course? And it'll do all of these things, and it'll be really cool. It'll show you some of your highlights of, have you revisited the post? Because if I was a Reddit user, I would have upvoted the post, and this was a really cool post, and you'll actually see this from an AI's perspective of saying, hey, you know what, that post I did in CS2A, the system found it was actually a very nice post. Those things will become more possible in the future. Okay, because you don't have to depend on the post finding the right human eyes anymore. Okay, because the AI will have eyes everywhere. It can see quality and find it and surface it much more effectively and efficiently than humans. And so you can just feel free to just do cool stuff and just leave it out there. You don't have to care about doing cool stuff and then chasing it down and finding people to promote it and shit like that. You don't have to do anymore. Okay, just be your cool stuff. Just give your curiosity full reign, and just be creative. Okay, because that is going to be the most fun thing you can get out of this class. Generally any education, but this especially because this can unleash your creativity for no cost. Just keep that in mind. Okay, you don't have to be stingy, obviously, but no cost. I don't mean dollars. Okay, I just mean mental effort. Okay, moving atoms, moving mechanical things. Okay, so you can extract joy for the least amount of joules expended. Okay, so just moving electrons, so just electrical fields, not even electrons, and you can just simulate the whole thing. And that kind of thing will come from fields like this. Okay, even other art like sculpture, you got to do something and move atoms. You don't have to do any of that thing here. Okay, so that's all in terms of a spiel. I don't see any hands up. Okay, so doesn't mean that I can actually go. I mean, you guys can talk. It's almost been an hour, right? You still have like 20 minutes at least. If you have no questions for me, I'll just take off. Okay, by the way, don't use chat. I actually don't see the chat. Yeah, well, I don't see the chat. and it doesn't get recorded. Just speak up, just interrupt me. You can give me
Hello,
give me a break. Yeah.
sorry, my name's Timothy. Like I tried changing my
Yeah, next time. Yeah, I think
username, I
before you
guess,
log
but
in, you gotta change
I
it.
had okay. I had a question. I am trying to sign up for a class that is Monday, Wednesday, Zoom time,
Yeah.
like this time as well.
Yeah, just today is Monday, but I think the catch-ups are on. Well, I don't know when the catch-ups are. Right? Just decide on Reddit. I think people in the past have used something called a poll, Reddit poll. Okay.
Okay, I could
Yeah,
start a poll and then
start a
see.
poll. Give me the best dates that have the majority of you guys attending, and we'll make that the time and date. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Tim. Any other questions? Okay, all right. I'm like totally psyched to see you all. So just feel free to talk amongst yourself. I'm gonna take off, okay? I'm gonna and take off. So since you don't have any questions for me, well, I don't have. Why does I only have the end button? How do I leave the meeting without ending? Oh, just give me 1 sec, okay? Okay, there's a button for leave meeting. Okay, I'll have to nominate someone. Maybe Enzo, you can take over as the host of the meeting when I, check out of the meeting. Is that okay? Great. Thank you. Thank you. All right. I'm very excited to see all of you new guys, as well as, some of the old faces that I already know from my CS2A. It's all great. And by the way, you guys who are doing my CS2A, you should also feel free to look back on the YouTube channel for all the face-to-face class lectures week by week. Since it's 12 weeks, you have lectures for every single week. You can actually view them. You can also talk to our 2B students. They'll point you at all the resources because they did my face-to-face 2A, right? Last quarter. So they can also help you. Okay. And after this quarter, you guys won't meet each other directly, but you should still be linked on Reddit. So you should just be able to click on the person and DM the person on Reddit, or even post something and they'll reply to it so you'll be, keeping an eye on all of these things. Okay. And I will be watching all of you guys and participating where necessary. Okay. Without cramping your style. So, all right. Thank you all very much. Okay. I'm going to leave the meeting. Enzo will be the host. And feel free to talk. Take up all the time left, and maybe you can budget yourself, unlike me, like 2 minutes max for your question or answer or whatever it is. You'll get lots of everybody to talk. Okay. I think all of you are on screen. Yeah. We don't have 2 screens now. Previously we had people overflow, but this is okay. But still, everybody try to have a chance to say something. All right. Thank you all so much. I'm like super happy. All right. Bye.
Bye. Have a nice day.
Okay, so he nominated me to be the host. So some things that me as well as other CS2B students could talk about is like how to get participation, what website we use to code things for the submissions, how to Google things or find things when you kind of get like a stuck point, like where you just can't figure something out. What kinds of questions to ask on the Reddit that like help you get participation, like whatever you guys want. So I'll be here for, I guess, I don't know, until the first person asks a question that we can go from there.
I'm gonna ask, you said website that you use to do your code? So you're not
Yeah.
using a local compiler?
Yeah, so you have a few different options. You could use VS Code for one thing. Yeah, so that's the name, Visual Studios Code. But the one that we use very often throughout the course is Online GDB. I can put the URL in the chat really quick. All right, get in there. Okay, there it is. So basically, if you guys want to click on that, it'll bring you to just an easy one you can put on your browser. And I don't know, it's like it's a very easy way to do it, especially if you don't know how to navigate VS Code and download all the things. We use it a lot. How you would get this to upload it into your into the website, the Genius Bootcamp or whatever, is you go to you see the top where it has like all the buttons like run, debug, stop, share, whatever. You'll be able to figure it out if you aren't following along right now. The top right one or the rightmost one, that top menu is download current file or download all files. So you would click on that and it would go to your downloads, and then you just drag and drop that into the Genius Bootcamp window. And that's how you submit it. Does that make sense? All right, perfect. Anyone else have questions or don't understand what I just said? Because I can share my screen too.
And so it sounded like you just said that that's like a browser-based IDE essentially, but if we
Yeah.
preferred VS Code or Vim or anything else, we could use that instead, but that's just a good option that most people use.
Yeah, totally. I personally use Online GDB for that course. I know a bunch of people use other sites, other programs that worked well for them. I can't personally speak to it, but the Genius Bootcamp accepts anything.
I
Cool,
think
thanks.
we used that one a lot last quarter too, because it was just I guess it's different for you guys since you won't have like the live classes, but it made it easier to like collaborate on like the same code as opposed to like having a bunch of different CPP files.
Yeah, because the nice thing about that was not everyone uses the same thing, so not everyone uses VS Code, not everyone uses this or that. But Online GDB, because it's on the browser, you can just copy and paste a link into the chat, and we could all work on the same code. Like, so it just made it easier for sharing if we don't all have it synchronized. But yeah, you can totally use VS Code if you want, or the other ones you said. All right, anyone else have questions?
Yeah, I got a question. I don't know if it's like off topic or not, but I wasn't here the first half of the part. But did he mention anything about like every Monday and Wednesday are we gonna have like Zoom call lectures like this? And if so, will it be recorded? Or is it just something you want to
Okay,
invite?
yeah. So for CS2B people, our meetings were Tuesday and Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m. I believe he commented about how it changed for you guys. So I'd recommend going to the syllabus to see exactly when the meetings are. In general, what you do is you go to the Canvas page, and then you go to Foothill Zoom, which is one of the left things on that page. And on there, you can click on the meeting links and you can see when they're going to be hosted. I'm just not sure how it's going to work exactly for you guys. I know it'll be all the syllabus. So that's pretty much all I can say. And yes, on that same Foothill Zoom tab, it'll have the meetings recorded, so you can watch them back whenever.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, perfect. Any other questions?
I think just to answer or add to that last question, I think he said for this group presently we're planning on Mondays at 6 for the meeting, and then there might be a catch up later. But I think we also decided that we're going to go to Reddit and do a poll to figure out what works best for the whole cohort.
Class.
So
Yeah. Yeah, overall, the professor is pretty flexible, I found. So if you guys all agree and come to consensus, we want to on like pretty much any day of the week, he can probably try and accommodate that the best he can. He's pretty nice and flexible. Just email him about it, post on the Reddit, whatever. In general, if you guys need help for like coding or something, he prefers it to be on the Reddit so everyone can see it and read it versus just in privately in email, because then not everyone can really benefit from what he tells you. Any other questions? All right, I'll stick around for like 5 more minutes. And if there's no questions in that time, I'll shut down the meeting. You guys can go if you don't have any questions, though.
Thanks, Professor.
I got you.
I had a question about like I guess learning new material. Is like the main source just gonna be like searching things up or like a textbook or something?
Okay, so that's a pretty fair question. basically what I did for the entire quarter is more or less I would use ChatGPT as like a big funnel so it's like if there's a new topic, let's say ternary operators, you would use ChatGPT as a funnel, get like a bunch of information you know about it, ask questions, do that or whatever. And then once you understand what you think you know, you would go to Google to get specific syntax or use cases that you may come across. So an example like for ternary operators would be like, you see something you totally don't even know, you don't even know the name ternary operator, you can just put that into ChatGPT and say, hey, what is this? Like, I have no idea. And then ChatGPT can give you like a decently good list about what ternary operators are and just how to use them. And then to actually figure out the syntax for it, you either ask more questions to ChatGPT or say, hey, give me syntax for ternary operators into Google, and it'll give you like some Stack Overflow or some other site that you can use. Yeah, so it's like if I was ever at a complete stop, I might like have all my code for one of the projects, put all the code from one of those projects into ChatGPT and say, hey, I'm getting this error in the console. Can you help me figure out where it is or why it's wrong? And if it's a more fundamental misunderstanding, I might go on the Reddit and be like, hey, I can't give you guys the exact code, but here's my error and here's the quest it was for, and here's why I think it was wrong. And then people can help critique you because it might give like a slightly better, more personal answer than ChatGPT. Does that answer it or help a little?
Yeah, thanks.
He does have a book that he recommends. I think it's called Absolute C++.
Yeah, yeah.
The
He didn't
other,
really require it though. That's the
yeah,
one
no,
thing.
but it's just one he mentions in the syllabus. The other website that I use a lot was learncpp.com. That's the one that everyone online recommends to go through.
I can second that. I'm just getting started with 2A, so I don't have as much to say as you guys do, but I'm at the 6th quest, and they're talking about destructors and like different class stuff that I'm like, I need to figure out where to learn these things before I start trying to do this quest. And I actually saw that that's like it's on Learn CPP or any other sort of book. So I've at this point, since I'm ahead, I'm just reading that now just to try to figure out what those mean before I go on to that that quest. But I don't know. I guess if other people have better options, then let me know.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's truly whatever works for you. I think Byron and my experiences are kind of different in that way. And that's why it's nice to have the Reddit where it's like if your traditional way of doing it isn't working, you can ask and maybe essentially branch out to someone else's way. Or you could search past discussions if you're already ahead so that you don't have to like wait for people to catch back up and then ask.
Again, adding to for learning resources, because presumably we're all semi Bay Area. If you go to the San Francisco Library and get a free San Francisco Library card, they give you free access to LinkedIn Learning and Udemy online. So there's lots of great online courses through those two schools to figure stuff. And they have free access to all the O'Reilly books too online. So
Yeah, I mean, a lot of those tools typically almost let you go past what the class even teaches you. Like I've used Udemy for other things besides this class, and it's helped me sort of push a little further. But for this class, none of that stuff is really required. You can totally get by with no textbook, just Google if you feel like figuring it out. It's like honestly more so about figuring it out than just having a lot of material like and knowledge up there. All right, any other questions you guys have? All right, same thing. I'll stay here for another 5 minutes while you guys can either leave or ask more questions.
Thanks, Enzo, for leading the meeting. Take care.
All right, you too. See ya.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
All right, see ya.
See you on Reddit.
See ya.
See you.
See you.
Bye.
Thank you. Everything was clear.
All right, no problem. Good luck on CS2A.
Thank you.